Hi guys, this is Heather with Gilstead. We are doing our very first video, so excuse me if I sound crazy because I've never done this before. We have 3 questions that are most commonly asked when people purchase rabbits from us to eat. This is going to be one of those videos. This is not a cute and fluffy video. This is your opportunity to turn it off. You don't want to see it. We do raise our animals in, better than normal cages. They're clean, they're big, they have their toys, their worst day is their last day. And that's all important to us. So, with that being said, our 3 questions are, what does this rabbit taste like? Number 1. Number 2, how do you cook it? And number 3, what's the easiest way to cut it up? So rabbit, everybody says rabbit tastes, or everything tastes like chicken, but parts of it do. It has its own flavor. It might be a little bit like lean pork on some of the cuts, and some of them kind of taste more like chicken. It kind of depends. The misconception is that it's gamey. Domestic rabbit definitely is not gamey. It's a very mild, very nutritionally dense meat. It's high in protein and very lean. I like to say it has as much flavor as like the dark meat of the chicken or as a pork chop, but it doesn't have near the fat of either. The second question would be, how do you cook it? And you cook it the same way you cook any chicken breast. Any of your favorite recipes, you can toss it right in as a substitute, and it'll turn out just fine. Personally, I like fried best. And then my husband loves to do a grilled version of it. The last question is cutting the rabbit up. So we're going to change the camera angle real quick so you can kind of see what's going on. And if you haven't turned the video off yet and you don't want to see it, now's your chance. Alright guys, so this is a 3.5 pound roaster. It's a little bit firmer and more flavorful than a fryer. A fryer would be a little bit more tender, and they're obviously going to be a lot smaller. So there's a few main components here. This is the belly flap. That's the muscle that goes around the abdomen. And that is split down the middle when it's processed. So then you've got the hind quarter and the forearm, and we call those the wings most of the time. The loin, which is the part that my husband loves most, tastes the most like chicken, and that goes kind of the whole way. The bulk of it is obviously like right there. So the easiest one, we'll start with the easiest. We'll try and get that camera angle there for you. So the wing has a shoulder blade that kind of comes up in here. You can almost see the shape. And it isn't really connected to anything. So probably the easiest thing to do, some of them will lift right up. You can kind of see where that bone is right there. I'm tucking right in. So you can kind of lift that up and just get that knife underneath there. And just start working your way towards the front. And we're going to do both just to get them done. So we're going to lift that up a little bit. Alright, part number 2 is the hind quarter. So there's another bone that's kind of shaped the same way as the shoulder blade, and it runs up here, and you can almost see the seam through it. And the bone will be just to the front end of that. So you can go from that, and go straight down. If you can, you'll get your knife kind of angled in a little bit. And then from the other side, you're going to cut right on the inside of that tailbone and come up the other way. And we're trying to get your camera angles right so you can see it. So you'll get all the way up there until the hip meets the spine. You pop that open. And then you should be able to cut, if you popped open enough, you should be able to cut the rest of the way through. Unless it wants to be difficult. There it goes. I just wasn't getting the angle in there right. I'm working at a funny angle. Now there's two ways you can do this belly flap. And we'll do the quick one first. And that's going to trim it off of the loin. And then you can kind of come in where you cut that shoulder blade off. And then take it right down. You're just going to run it right on top of that rib cage. Give that a little start there. Now, if you want to make bacon with this, or if you want to make it like a stir fry, this is the way that you're going to go. You won't end up with cartilage in this part of the meat. When we flip over and do the other side, I'll show you the way that we do it when we make jerky, because the cartilage is in honesty very, very soft. So if you have a piece of jerky and it's already really firm, it's not hurting anything to, you know, be in there. It's actually kind of chewy. Alright, so for the loin, rabbits kind of have almost a W-shaped vertebrae. So what you'll do is you'll kind of feel along and find those little bumps. You're going to go to one side or the other, usually the top side, and cut straight down till you hit bone. And then you're going to angle your knife just a little bit, because you're going to kind of get underneath of that. So you're going to pull it back, and you're going to feel another bone in the way. So you can't see it real well, but there's a hard part right there. I'm going to see if I can get that knife in there and you can kind of get an idea. But you're going to go straight down again, right behind that. And then you're going to pull it back again. We're going to angle the knife again. Just keep moving your hand up. And just keep angling it more and more until you get to the end of that bone. And then you can flip it over and kind of get there's a little bit of the loin that wraps around on the underside. We're not going to do that in this video because the angles are hard enough already. But we do cut them off, and those are kind of like our snacks while we're cooking because they'll cook fast. They're kind of small. Come on. There we go. Alright, and there's the loin. Now the fun thing about rabbit meat is that it doesn't really marble. You might have a layer here and there, but it's going to come up in pieces, so you can really easily control the amount of fat that goes into the meat that you're cooking. So we're going to flip over. I'm going to go ahead and feel for that bone. Go straight down. See how far we can get cutting that way. I'm going to find that spine. And we're going to go on the inside of it. Get a grip on the hip bone, pop it open, and put that knife the rest of the way through. Alright, so I told you we were going to go over a second way to get the belly flap off. Now this is the one to get the most out of your meat. Out of your rib. You want to see? Y'all killing me, dudes. We're going to split this open. Open this up right here. And what you're going to do, there's a membrane that connects that muscle that goes over the ribs. You can see the ribs in here, but it's just a real thin, clear membrane. And you're going to take your knife perpendicular to those bones and scrape it off. Now this knife is a little bit big for that. So it's a pain in the butt. But you're going to scrape until that bone starts to look a little bit dry, and you have it like the ends of the bones are going to be exposed. Like you can see them kind of starting to pop up. At that point, you're going to go straight back. And those bones will kind of pop right up. You can get behind them. Press it down. If you get down to the bottom and you get sick of trying to get the bones to, you know, let go, you can cheat. Grab your knife. And just run it along those ribs. So we'll cut it off the loin. And there's one last rib in here that usually gets missed because it's almost into this part of the loin. So I have to cut around that. You want to angle down to get away from that piece of the loin that we want to keep. And that'll have a little bit of cartilage in there, right along in the edges. And this one's got the sternum, so we'll trim the sternum out. Dogs will love that. So this is a much larger, more usable piece than this one, which is absolutely what we want. There's a lot more to it. It's heavier. So we can take this piece off here. If you're making jerky, this can go into your jerky gun. It's kind of small. Or you can slice it down into little slivers. And then we don't have the other half of the loin here, but another thing that we'll do is we'll take the knife down. It's not doing it because I have something underneath the cutting board. You do have to break the spine a little bit. It sounds kind of mean and grotesque, But that's how you're going to get your knife through without doing an awful lot of damage. Because you got to get those vertebrae apart. And then at that point, you know, just pretend that half is still there. You would have a bone-in loin. So this part's great for stock. Our dog loves this. That's great for stock too. What we'll do is we'll boil this. There's a lot of collagen in the meat and the bones, and it makes a really, really awesome and nutritious stock. There's a lot of flavor. But we'll boil it and then just strain the bones and stuff out, and we'll make soups with that. It's kind of awesome. But these are the only parts that you're going to have left. We always put them in a freezer bag, and we'll save them up until we get a nice cold day and or somebody's sick, and we'll make soup. But and with it being so nutritionally dense, it takes a lot less before your body acknowledges it. You feel full. So this is enough to feed 4 of us very easily, and I might still have like a wing left over to take with me for lunch. Like I said though, this is a pretty big rabbit, but that's how we cut them up. You got options. It's the most basic way. I'm sure there's more, but that's it.